Hi, I'm Joel Norman, and thank you for tuning in for today's edition of Toro Talk. We're joined by the head coach of the Mason City Toros, Nick Bruneteau. Nick, feels like it's been a while since we've talked here. Nice to be back, though. Nice to have you. And, boy, a nice week for you guys last week against Alexandria. A couple of wins. You guys were down a few skaters overall those games right before the start of the new year, and you kind of had to battle, but regardless, you skated away with 4 points. That had to feel really good. What kind of things did you learn about your team over those couple of days in Alexandria?
Well, they've been great with adversity the whole season, and anytime you can go on the road and come out with 4 points, it's always going to be a successful weekend. But, like you were talking about, a little bit banged up numbers, and it's that time of the year when there's some, colds going around. So I couldn't have been more proud of how our guys came out. In both games, too, we were down 3-1, so we had to come from behind both nights, multiple goals to come out with the win. So overall, great weekend, but there's more improvement to be had as well.
If there was one good thing to take away, it was getting those opportunities to come from behind. You haven't had to do that many times this year. Did you feel like you guys learned a lot from having to fight back and battle in a game?
Yeah, definitely. And the response is critical, and we didn't wait too long to have that response. And I was really proud of, Soda and Carter Newpower. They were our two returners with us that weekend, and how they handled the locker room between periods, I thought was perfect. We had good answers each coming out of each period. I thought those first few minutes were critical for us to have that push and get back in both games.
Another thing that's been nice for you guys last week, and it's going to continue moving forward, you're starting to get some defensemen back. Andrew Ralston appeared last week against Alexandria. Blake Polifka's been skating. What does that mean to have some defensive depth all of a sudden? Because that's been a position this year where you're kind of, we had a stretch in November where you were skating 5 guys out there because that was what you had. What does it mean to have a few more options now?
It's huge, and I think one of the biggest things is it elevates everybody's games because, now every defenseman on our team knows that, hey, I have to continue to play well and get better, or I might be on the outside looking in. And Andrew Ralston had a great weekend last weekend. It's good to have him back. He's a good skater. He moves pucks well, and Blake Polifka is very similar, just a bigger body. So we're excited to have both of them back and see what they have in store for us.
Another guy who had a great week last week was Cullen Hogan, picking up the West Division Star of the Week. It's the first time someone's done it who wasn't on that top line to start the season. Of course, now Hogan has worked his way up, and, boy, he's really shown off some versatility this season. Talk to me about what that means having a guy like him who's been able – he is at one point centered every line this season, which is remarkable, and he didn't look too uncomfortable playing alongside a Soda Isa guy and Carter Newpower, did he?
No, not at all. And it was a great weekend for Hogs, and nice for us to see him get rewarded for how well he's done for us this year. And like you touched on, we can play him anywhere on any line. And as a coach, he gives you a good feeling when he gets out on the ice because you can trust him and he's going to play a good defensive game. And when there's an offensive opportunity, he's going to contribute as well. So good for Hogs to have a good weekend. He's still got another year of juniors left, and we know he's got bigger things ahead of him, but couldn't be more happy with him.
I'm glad you talked about him being that two-way forward because that's something I think that stands out. You look at his statistics. He's got double-digit goals. He's got some shorthanded goals as well. And, boy, that's been kind of a staple for your team is the ability of your forwards to be two-way players because just because you're going to find the back of the net a lot doesn't mean you might not be seeing some time on the PK, will you?
No, exactly. And another guy that's, a similar spot is Luke Robertson. I think those two have been our best penalty killers all season long. They take great angles. They have good IQ. And on the flip side, like you said, they'll contribute offensively when they have chances and opportunities. They just don't cheat the play, which as a coach is exactly what you want to see out of your guys. So great weekend for Robertson and Hogan.
I'm glad you brought up Luke Robertson because, of course, this past Saturday he became the 4th member of the Toros to be called up to the North American Hockey League, and not coincidentally, all of them suiting up for the North Iowa Bulls. But Robertson really an unsung hero, I think, in a lot of ways on this year's team. He's done a lot of small things that you might not notice in the statistical column, but, boy, I felt he was really deserving of that call-up. I know Todd Sandin had great stuff to say about him. And, of course, you're on the Bulls staff as well. Was he someone that you guys, from the North Iowa Bulls standpoint, had you been kind of targeting him for maybe one of those, quick call-ups if you needed a guy?
Yeah, definitely. The thing about Robbie that makes it easy is he's a good skater, and when you take that into consideration that he can skate at the North American League level and his defensive responsibilities, he's a perfect fit. And the thing that I don't think has been mentioned or talked about enough about Robbie is he is the most coachable player on the team. You don't have to tell him anything twice. He'll do exactly what you say, and he'll do it with a smile. So, guys like that really make both team staffs' jobs easy. So it was good for him to get rewarded, same as Hogan, and hopefully there's more to come for both.
What was that process like for getting him up to the Bulls? Because he said something like he only heard the day of the game. Was that correct, or did he know a little bit in advance?
That's correct. Me and Todd talked about it immediately after our game, knowing that they played the next day, and we just had floated a few different players out there and some different ideas, and kind of thought about it, and then Todd made that decision the next morning and let Luke know right away in the morning. So I think it was probably a quick turnaround for him.
That's got to be a fun position for you to kind of fight for guys to move up. Isn't that fun?
Yeah, it's fun, but there's only so many mouths you can feed. So that's the challenging thing is you want every one of these kids to move up, and you want all of them to go up. But unfortunately for our players, there's limited spots. But I hope there's way more to come.
Taking on the Wilmer Warhawks this weekend, a team who you guys have seen more than anyone else to this point. But this will be the last time this weekend, Friday and Saturday, the last two times you'll face them this season. 4-2 against them so far. Last time you played them was a tough outing. I felt like a really close game until late. They got a couple of goals in that third period. What have you learned about this team over the course of the season? You've seen them enough. Right now, the season ends today. You're playing them in the playoffs. What have you come to learn and appreciate about the Wilmer Warhawks as an opponent?
Well, they have a very good top line, Sweetland, Wires, and Kirchhoff. I think those three are good players. And then on the back end, they also have some good defensemen, Miller, O'Brien, and a few others. So they definitely have some high-end guys, and they're well coached. They study film. You can tell that they make adjustments when need be. They have lots of different variations on face-off plays, so they're doing everything they can to have success. So we respect that. We respect that organization and that team highly. We know that they're always going to give us a full 60-minute game, and you can never take them lightly.
They've been a test at times. They picked up a couple of wins in the last few outings against the Toros as well, so they're going to be a test no matter what. Nick, thank you for joining us, and best of luck in the two games this weekend.
Thanks, Joel.
That was head coach Nick Bruneteau joining us. I'm Joel Norman, and this has been Toro Talk.